Hi, welcome to my video on the history of taxation. I've decided to make this series on taxation because I recently took a class, Tax 1, and I'm currently studying for the IRS Enrolled Agent examination. And I've realized that when I took this class, I had a professor who focused more on making sure that the test material was difficult rather than actually teaching the material. And I'm sure that a lot of you, a lot of us fellow future accountants or accountants already, have had this problem. So the goal of this video series is to bring you all of those, all of that content in a very understandable format. So let's begin. So when studying taxation, the first thing that we have to know is, why do we have an income tax in the first place? Since that's going to be the basis of everything we do from here on out. So the federal income tax, it wasn't always around. Before the federal income tax, the United States government relied mostly on excise taxes and taxing exports and different things like that. But that just that wasn't enough. So what happened was, in 1861, the first federal income tax was instated. And this federal income tax was instated so that the Civil War could be funded. This tax funded the Civil War, and afterwards it was repealed. So after 1861, we had a federal income tax, and then it was gone. And then about 30 years later, the income tax was reinstated. But it turns out that it wasn't a very easy tax to make happen, to collect, to regulate, and that's partially because, according to the laws of the time, the taxes had to be apportioned according to the number of people in each state. So the question is, how do you tax everybody individually at a different rate for every state? And then in 1895, that tax was ruled unconstitutional. There's no provision in the United States Constitution that allows for a federal income tax. And so the only way that for the federal government to have this income tax was for Congress to pass a constitutional amendment. And then in 1913, the 16th Amendment was passed, which gives us the modern federal income tax. And the thing about the 16th Amendment is that it was actually only one specific sentence. And this sentence reads, "The Congress shall have power to lay and collect taxes on incomes from whatever source derived, without apportionment among the several states, and without regard to any census or enumeration." Now, this last line, which says, "without regard to any census or enumeration," well, that's just addressing the problem of the point in 1894 that it was too cumbersome to collect, so they kind of did away with that clause. And another thing you have to consider, the importance of the sentence, is that the second clause says, "from whatever source derived." So that means, and this will come into play in all of your future tax work, that unless a tax is specifically excluded from the tax code, so unless there's a law that says this specific income, you don't have to pay taxes on it, that means it's included. So you're always supposed to assume that any income that a taxpayer has, unless it's specifically excluded, it's going to be included in gross income. Well, that concludes the history of taxation. Please like the video if it helps you. Comment if you have any questions. Subscribe. Definitely subscribe so you can see my future tax videos. Alright, thank you.